everybody, welcome. Wow, what a show. I am overwhelmed. I cannot believe it. I mean, just watching the shuttle buses do their thing is enough just to clap for operations management. Well, welcome to our panel, and I just wanted to kick it off. This, of course, is the future of personalized nutrition in the era of Ozempic and other drugs in that ilk. You know, I was thinking after discussing ahead of time with my panelists, getting to know them and their businesses, that a phrase came to mind: an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But apparently not enough people are eating enough apples, so the doctor is quite busy. And so are the pharmaceutical companies that make the drugs to help treat all the symptoms and circumstances surrounding diet-related diseases. So from Hippocrates to CES, we're going to cover the waterfront here and examine some new solutions, some technologies in personalized nutrition. Our panelists today are looking at different pieces of that apple pie, of course made with no added sugars, whole grains, and healthy fats, to innovate solutions to help promote good health through good nutrition, okay? Not a groundbreaking concept, certainly not something new, good nutrition to support good health. But the tools and the solutions are changing because we've got to do better, right? Let me introduce, and we'll get started. So our stellar panel, first to my left, Noushin Hashimi. See her on the big screen. She leads January AI as founder and CEO, and they develop technologies targeting metabolic diseases and chronic conditions, emphasizing affordability and accessibility, which is really huge. She advocates for consumer-centric solutions, ensuring wider access to essential health tools. It's kind of a co-pilot for nutrition, of course, utilizing AI in many ways, with data curated on 54 million foods and millions of recipes. So we'll get to know a little bit more about Noushin in a minute, but let me also introduce our next panelist, Ranjan Sinha. He is the CEO and founder of Digby Health, developing technologies on precision wellness to improve personal health based on genetics. Big focus on the gut, ancestry, and of course, lifestyle. Digby Health is a leader in precision tech biology-based care for obesity, type 2 diabetes, and gastrointestinal health. The company's mission is to transform healthcare by expanding access to personalized, genetics-based, and gut microbiome-driven treatments. We've all heard of the microbiome. We're going to learn more today. Our next panelist, Matt Barnard, is the co-founder and CEO of OneBio, a biotechnology company on a mission to help us live better and longer by restoring fiber, a critically important component for a healthy microbiome and, of course, overall health. People are not getting enough fiber in their diet. This just in, but we know that. OneBio has innovated a technological process that releases short-chain fibers from thousands of plants, making them more easily consumable. Okay, there's the technology part right there. And so we'll learn a little bit more from Matt on that. But essentially, you know, these fibers can be added to any food or drink, flavorless, invisible, making it easier to consume the fiber we all need for good health. So let's get started and get this panel going. And then we're going to have a portion of the panel, which is going to be a lot of fun, where our panelists also interview the other panelists, okay? Because they want to know more about each other's innovations. Okay, so Noushin, starting with you. Please describe how your company aims to improve public health nutrition through the technologies that you're building.
Great. Thank you, Carolyn, for having me. Thank you, Mike. So January AI is an AI company, and we were AI before ChatGPT. We started 7 years ago developing a generative AI that predicts your next glucose level. So we've trained with thousands of people, millions of data points on continuous glucose monitors, smartwatches, and self-reported data like food logs. And our first version was with CGMs and smartwatches. Our second was as well. And the third one is now without sensors. So we have been able to accumulate enough data to be able to, without using smartwatches or CGMs, provide a probabilistic response, blood sugar response to people. So what we do, we've combined our generative AI that predicts your next glucose level with other generative AIs, vision model, language model, where you can simply take a picture of a food and find out its macros and find out its blood sugar impact. You're able to also log that food and learn your trends over time. So our goal is essentially to improve the quality of the food that you're eating by making sure that you are getting enough fiber, getting enough protein, so you have a good macro balance, eating fewer carbs and fats. And we're making sure the quantity is right, because you can simply just take a picture all day and know most people miscalculate the quantity of food they're eating. So it's really important to manage your volumes. And we want to make sure you understand the blood sugar impact of what you're eating. And we do this in real world, whether you're cooking at home, we have millions of recipes. If you dine out all the time, we have all the restaurants, local and chain restaurants. So this is years of machine learning where we've attributed essentially nutritional values to foods that don't have them in local restaurants, mom and pop shops. And we also have all the groceries and everything else. So you should be able to find whatever you're looking for. Ethnic foods, etc., should be available to you. So you should have this nutritional agent that's with you all the time. And if you want to tell it, hey, watch me have 100 grams of protein a day, it will help you do that. If you want to maximize your fiber, it will help you do that. But you have that agent, nutritional agent, helping you.
You know, I just had a thought and a bit of a vision. Are we getting closer to a driverless car with this?
Absolutely. So it will watch what you're eating, and it will, well, first of all, it can do a complete nutritional assessment like a nutritionist would, and would ask you, well, what are you eating and what are you doing? And it does it in a conversational way, and you give it all those answers and then says, hey, it looks like your diet is low on fiber, or you're eating too many processed foods, or whatever a nutritionist would say. It also connects them to sleep and activity, et cetera. I can say, looks like you're not sleeping enough, so you tend to eat more carbs, et cetera. So yes, you can get to a point where you just take pictures and you get insights.
Well, you know, and as you mentioned too, it all kind of depends on self-reporting, which we know is notoriously not that reliable. Like, you know, your doctor may ask you, as they did my friend Mimi, how many glasses of wine did you have a day? And she reported, well, I only used one glass. And so again, people are notoriously bad, right, at reporting. Is that how the photography helps?
The photography is like, people are used to already journaling their lives all day long. They just take pictures of everything. So yes, that's how it works. If you wear a CGM, we have food detect. So it's cheat free. If you wear a CGM and a smartwatch, we know if you were eating or not. So without you logging anything, we know how long you were eating, how close to bedtime you were eating, how long you were fasting. But if you're not wearing a CGM, we're relying on you.
Okay, because I could take a picture of a salad and then go ahead and order the pizza. Just saying. Well, anyway, you know, which brings us, Ranjan, again, how is your company, Digby Health, really helping to come up with solutions to improve public health nutrition?
So thank you, Caroline, and great to be with two amazing people on this panel. If you look at today, about 60% of the US population is considered obese or overweight. And our mission is to take food which has been the cause of these illnesses, the top 4 food-related illnesses, obesity, diabetes, GI, and now there is increasing evidence that we publish probably every quarter, mental health through the gut-brain axis. And to take food and make it into from the cause to cure, we felt that 5 things have to come together. Number one, we should be able to understand the genetics of the individual. And if you think about us as a machine, if we're a sports car or a car, we need to know whether we have a blueprint of a sports car or electric vehicle, a diesel or a petrol-based car. And so understanding the genetics is important because that's how we break the food, the liquid we drink, the air we breathe, how it's broken down. Depends on our genetics. And it varies from people to people. Really, from ancestry is one way. Gender is definitely a big factor. The second is, I think what Nasheem's company is doing is the basic health telemetry through these sensors. What is happening to my body when I drink Coke or when I'm stressed, when I'm not sleeping well? So thanks to where digital electronics is, these are now available at a consumer level. The third piece, which is the missing piece of the puzzle that finally, over the last 10 years, has become very prevalent, easy to measure it, is the gut microbiome. Because through our evolution, we had outsourced so many of our functions because we don't have the genes to do many of those. And we were always puzzled about it. Our body doesn't create certain kinds of vitamins. 90% of the serotonin we rely on the bacterial genes to produce. So understanding what's happening in the gut through the microbiome is important. And then we need to know what you're eating. And just like Nasheem described, if we can take a meal photo and understand not only what's in the meal, but how does it relate to those other 3 variables. And finally, if you have to treat 200 million people, you have to make it affordable and accessible. And so we might be the only company that provides you the genetics, the microbiome, CGM, and a way to assess food, but all of it is paid through your health plan. So we currently have over 7 health plans. So I think when you put all these 5 things together, you can truly, at a societal level, impact taking food from the cause to cure of illness. So that's our mission. And I think chronic illness can be made optional.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we've been hearing about the microbiome, obviously, big time in headlines, whatever, but the last 5-10 years or something. So it seems like the microbiome is becoming kind of a macro trend in a way. Let's say you were going to describe from your perspective, Ranjan, what is the microbiome, and can we measure it? Can we change it? That's my question.
Well, the microbiome, the simplest way the way at least I try to explain it is there are as many bacterial cells in our gut, and there are in other places of our body too, but just focused on the gut, as we have human cells. But the difference is all our human cells have the same genetic blueprint. But when it comes to the bacteria, they have all kinds of genetic variation, and that's the reason they are able to produce so many kinds of chemicals, create those compounds. And think about it like an Amazon rainforest, right? Your gut. It's a very vibrant, 100 kinds of plants and animals, but they are all, it's a healthy forest, they are all coexisting in a balanced manner, good and bad. So your gut microbiome is very similar, lots of bacteria coexisting, and they need to have the right kind of fibers, because that's primarily what a bacteria eats. The technology to measure them has significantly advanced in the last 10 years. And your microbiome is relatively changes frequently. You could be on antibiotics and your microbiome will change. You may end up drinking alcohol and your microbiome will change. But what is far more stable is the microbiome works not individually, but like a guild, like a community. So as a community, what it is producing for you, the compounds, doesn't change that easily. And that's the That's the beauty of it. It is stable at that level. But through food, you can, over a long period of time, like 2 months, change it. And we have now published information, data, research paper, where we have taken folks who came in with high levels of anxiety, clinically measured. We looked at their microbiome. We realized it's not producing enough serotonin. Through the right food and fiber, you then move them. 4 months later, you measure it, and you see the difference and the manifestation in their level of anxiety. So it's a very powerful tool. And the way I look at it is, if you think about where electronics was, let's say in the early 90s, and by 2000, there was an iPhone. I think we are on the same path with the microbiome. In the next 15, 20 years, it'll be the most powerful pharmaceutical company that exists in everyone's gut. And our ability to produce these drugs endogenously will be significant.
So the age of antibiotics, we kind of stripped the microbiome there a little bit. Now we're kind of regrowing the forest. Matt, please tell us a little bit about OneBio and how what you're doing specifically really is focused on optimal health. And Ranjan mentioned the big word, fiber.
Yeah, so at OneBio, what we are doing is we are working to make health easy and delicious by solving for the stark deficiency in the human diet, in the modern human diet. So, and that is fiber. As Ranjan mentioned, fiber is the primary fuel of our microbiome, the 40 trillion microbes in our gut, and they need fiber to do their chemistry. Well, we're starving them, right? And so what we at OneBio are focused on doing is going after modern inflammatory disease and metabolic health. Those are the big 5 categories of metabolic disease: cardiovascular, neurodegenerative. You may have heard that Alzheimer's is slated to be reclassified as type 3 diabetes. It's metabolic dysregulation. Cancer, autoimmunity. Managing the symptoms of those 5 big categories, that's 85% of healthcare costs. And they are metabolic dysregulation, and they are gut health issues at their core. And at the driver of those, at the root, is what we are and are not putting in our bodies. Antibiotics, as you mentioned, is something we're putting in our bodies. The average dude puts about 50 courses of them in their bodies in their lifetime now, and the average woman about 70. And wow, that's a lot. And so they're going down to our gut, where 99% of our genetics reside. And we've lost about 30% of the strains of the microbiome since World War II. Now, so what we're doing at OneBio is, again, we're trying to make health easy and delicious by returning this primary dietary fuel to what we eat and drink. So when we evolved with our microbiome, we were feeding it 100 to 150 grams of fiber per day. Today in America, that's 15. In Spain, it's 12. In China, it's 9. It's going down everywhere. We're starving our gut. Our gut is the hero if only we feed it. And when I say the gut's the hero, what that means is that, as Ranjan mentioned, like, first talk about mood and energy. 90% of serotonin production begins with the fermentation of fiber by our microbiome. That's mood and energy balance right there. We evolved to metabolize energy itself by the microbiome picking apart these complex polymers called fibers, taking in that energy, doing chemistry on our behalf, and giving us back dozens of things that all the systems of our bodies need. And so when we isolated those fibers, we threw away the fiber and gave ourselves purified energy in the form of sugar. Wow, was that delicious, but we made it toxic. And so what we're doing is we're working to add that fiber back into anything people eat and drink without them noticing it's there. It's imperceptible, it's invisible, it's flavorless. And it's just in the choices, the foods that people are already making every day, because 70% of calories consumed are processed food and beverage. And so that's what we're looking to do is, going back to the hero, it's mood and energy balance. GLP-1s, I think it's in the title of this session. The semi-glutides exist to compensate for the lack of fiber in the diet. The GLP-1 mechanism evolved to work triggered by the fermentation of fiber by the microbiome, not by pharmaceuticals. All we need is fiber, and we can avoid the semi-glutides. And so you've You've got that. You've got the metabolization of energy. You have mood and energy balance. You have blood sugar control and maintenance. You have weight regulation. So there are literally dozens of things, and that's just if we feed our hero, which is the gut.
Okay, let's geek out a little bit
Let's
about
do it.
fiber. Can we geek? Let's get a little geeky here. And I'm referring to, we all hear about the tale of two cities. Well, the tale of two fibers, right? Insoluble and soluble. Insoluble, kind of like the strings in celery, which I call nature's broom, cleaning out our intestinal system. There's that reaction with fiber. And then the soluble fibers, like beta-glucans that you may have in oatmeal, okay? And these soluble fibers, also in that apple that we're supposed to be eating more of to help with blood cholesterol management even, okay? But you're saying, Matt, while we're geeking out about fiber, it's broader than those two kinds. Obviously, there's many different kinds of fiber. And you've developed, you've trademarked something called whole fibers, which are active fibers, and a glycopedia of fiber. Explain.
Yeah, well, first I'll say something provocative, which is that the dogma that's existed for about a half century around insoluble and soluble has never been shown to be a thing. It's just a thing that people postulated, maybe that was the driver, but no one's ever shown it. And so what we have shown at OneBio are the things that matter are dosage, right? And so, if you can uniquely high dose fibers into foods and beverage, well, you just hit a big part of it. And that in fact, the things like the blood control, glucose control mechanisms of fiber are independent of viscosity, which are the soluble versus insoluble. So part of the work of OneBio is not to just make these fibers accessible, like put them back in the diet by making them imperceptible. So it's not sludgy like Metamucil. It's not ineffective and inert like corn, wheat, and cassava fiber. It's not inflammatory like inulin. But it's just in everything. We built what's called the glycopedia. So it's been hard to know what fiber is. Some of you may have heard of the structure-function language of pharmaceuticals. This structure has this function in the body. Well, no one's ever had the chemical structure of fibers until OneBio built a mass spec platform and detailed the complex chemical structures of these polymers called fibers, thousands of them across the natural world. And so now we can use those with our process to pick apart these fibers and figure out, okay, that microbe eats these fibers to do that chemistry for that function in the body. So it's a little bit like vitamins and minerals. 100 years ago, people didn't know that there was this thing called iron and a thing called B12 and a thing called K2 and D3, and they all did different things in the body. But you wouldn't ask someone today, 100 years after 5 scientists did their work, you wouldn't say, hey, have you had your mineral today? You say, have you had your vitamins and minerals today? Well, it's the same thing with fiber. We believe the English language will eventually change. It's fibers. And so we now know that. And so one of the things that we've been doing at OneBio is finding a way to get fibers, many of them across different families, all back into the modern human diet.
It makes total sense. We look at all the different kinds of foods. They got to have different kinds of fibers and different way that they act. All right, now, as advertised, we are going to be talking about the GLP-1 drugs, which brings us to this question. Since In the Era of Ozempic is in our session title, Nusheen, I'll start with you. And if you want to mention anything about fiber in response to what was just discussed, how is your company, January AI's technologies and services, can help support the epidemic of really looking at obesity and the diseases related to obesity?
Well, we are, so we look at hallmarks of health. It's really important. Everything Matt said, I +1. We also developed a fiber in our company called Eden's Gut Health. Believe in everything you just said. One of the great reasons for inflammation in our collective microbiome is lack of fiber. Our ancestors, just as of 12,000 years ago, we used to eat 100 to 150 grams of fiber, as he said, and now we get so little. So plus antibiotics, et cetera, has put us in a collective dysbiosis. So we want to make sure people are getting enough fiber. We want to make sure people are getting enough protein. The new science around protein is 1 gram per pound of weight. So that's a lot. For me, I weigh a lot, so I have to eat 100.
And people have to kind of start easy on that journey, right?
They do. Well, fiber, you definitely have to start easy. It takes about a month for you to, if you don't have a fiber habit now, you can't just start taking scoops of fiber. You will have flatulence, you'll have gas. It will be very, very uncomfortable. You have to build fiber diet very, very slowly if it's not something that you've been doing. But I can tell you that in the last 5 years, I've gotten COVID one time, and only because I was sweeping the floor of my mother's hospital room where she had human metapneumovirus. And otherwise, I have never been, I don't get sick because I've been taking fiber for a period of about 7 years daily. And I really believe that. I also take probiotics as well. So I'm a big believer in keeping your inflammation down. But we go after the hallmarks of health. So we think that GLP-1s are fantastic for helping people kickstart a journey, perhaps, if they've struggled, to address diabetes, to address obesity, for sure. So we are supportive of GLP-1s, but I think responsible use of GLP-1s is really important. I noticed with people around my own life that when they take GLP-1s, they are nauseous a lot. They don't feel very good. They can't eat everything they want. So they tend to not eat. They eat extremely irregularly. And they sometimes eat, sometimes they don't eat, sometimes they feel like, I don't feel like eating. So the hope is that once you take GLP-1s, your addiction to food goes down, your appetite goes down, so you're much more mindful, you're very thoughtful about what you're eating, you will eat on a regular basis, that you'll eat enough protein and fiber, you'll eat fewer carbs and sugar that make you feel sick when you eat them, but that's not what actually happens. A lot of people that are on these drugs eat very, very poorly. And so when they have to come off these drugs, either because they can't afford them or because of side effects, they are going to gain all the weight back. So I think our goal is to be a good companion to GLP-1s by helping people, while you're on GLP-1s, use January AI to essentially figure out, hey, I'm going to eat 800 calories a day. Great. I'm going to eat them twice a day or 3 times a day. I'm going to eat them in small bites. And I'll make sure they don't spike my blood sugar because that's when I get nauseous. So we want to make ourselves a good companion to GLP-1s. We believe they're the right thing, but we don't feel like they are the only solution. And we think that they need to be used responsibly and thoughtfully. Otherwise, you really are damaging, you're losing muscle mass, you're potentially losing hair, you are not gaining muscle mass even if you're working out, but a lot of people don't even feel like working out. They just don't feel like it. So it's really, really important that you lean into those basic hallmarks of health, which is protein, fiber, sleep, being active, and obviously having moments of mindfulness.
Well, thank you. And Ranjan, again, I think what needs to be discussed here is what you're doing at Digby Health. So it's improving the quality as the quantity goes down, which maybe a lot of people are not doing on this journey, right?
Right, absolutely. I think GLP drugs have been around for about 15 years, and they were primarily used to treat diabetes. We now see they are very powerful in terms of managing obesity. And given we work primarily with insurance companies and large employers, one of the promise to them is we'll help them contain their healthcare cost. So one of the first things we wanted to do is, given the vast data set we have, and we see that in our daily lives, some people lose weight just by tweaking their meals, and others struggle. It's not that they don't intend to. And so the first thing we developed is we call it a GLP compass, which is based on your genetic profile, based on your microbiome profile, based on your CGM profile.
Because some people respond to those drugs very well and some do not.
Correct.
So that obviously, in your department, the DNA, the genetics, and helping people maybe choose the one that's right for them or another course of action.
Correct. So the compass very easily says we can get you to your target weight purely on food, or perhaps you need a pharmacotherapy support. And so that's one aspect of where Ozempic comes in, or the ability to direct who needs to be on the drug. The other part, even with the drug, the GLP drug, about 25% of the people lose over 15% weight. But there is 25% that lose less than 5%.
Oh no, what a waste of money.
What's a waste of money and effort? So after $12,000 a year, and when you scratch and look at what separates those two, one is glucose control. So if you have poor glucose control, even on GLP, you will lose about half the amount of weight. Okay. And the other factor, which we just presented a paper at the Obesity Medicine Conference, is your body's, through the microbiome mechanism, endogenously, internally produce the natural GLP. And so knowing that, I think food, especially the personalization of food and Ozempic combined together, or GLP class drugs, I think is going to be the future of how we manage obesity and metabolic chronic care. I think, and the costs will come down. So it is, at least from my vantage point, and today we are probably actively managing 10, 15,000 people every day. It's heartening to see people who have struggled all their lives to deal with obesity, getting that support and getting to the point. So it's at least, I find it, bringing the food and Ozempic together is a very powerful combination.
Because you think about it, I mean, obviously we don't ask people to take a blood pressure drug, and then their blood pressure goes down, and then they go, okay, you don't have to take it anymore. It is a long-term situation for many people who have obesity. And it's a quickly moving field when you see all the new drugs. I mean, just in today's Wall Street Journal about another one, and all the companion products, which brings us to Matt. And Matt, so tell us a little bit about OneBio and how you see your company and your solutions, I don't know, supporting being a companion situation to help people on this GLP-1 journey.
Yeah, this question is fun, first of all. So, as I mentioned before, OneBio is working to make health simple and easy. Well, the other thing we're working to do is just give people better choices, right? Be in the things that people already eat and drink. And I mentioned the gut's the hero. Take a Coca-Cola. A Coca-Cola has like 39 grams of sugar.
It's delicious.
Delicious. I mean, who doesn't love a sugarcane sweetened Coca-Cola Classic? Because I do. And it has 39 grams of sugar, 0 grams of fiber. You know what else has 39 grams of sugar? 2 apples.
I know, but it comes packaged with the company that it keeps, which is fiber and lots of nutrients. It's not just plain sugar.
It has almost 10 grams of fiber. So again, we didn't evolve to metabolize energy, sugar, isolated from the fiber it came from. We evolved to eat those things together, which is what made the sugar safe, because we need energy. We need sugar. Our cells run on sugar, for Pete's sake. It's why we love it so much. It needs fiber with it, not to be isolated from it. It needs it with it in order to make it safe. And so, everyone here on this panel has mentioned it. The GLP-1 mechanism did not evolve to be triggered by pharmaceuticals, which have side effects. They've all been mentioned: hair loss, muscle loss, stomach paralysis. Like, who wants them? And so I don't. I mean, I already don't have any of that. But we don't want those side effects. So why not just do it the way that it was meant to work, without side effects, and eat sugar with fiber? And so that's
what a concept.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing, is just let the gut be the hero that it is by feeding it rather than starving it, and making these sugars safe, and allow them to do all the chemistry that we need for mood and energy balance, to move, just for everything. It's at the heart of it all.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left, and which is plenty of time when you're, imagine how long 30 seconds is when you're waiting for your show to come back on. But I have a question for you, Matt, a little follow-up. So these little fibers that you're adding, and you say you can add it to pretty much anything. Like, let's say someone needs more fiber in their diet. It's in your ketchup. It's in your soft drink. It's in wherever we're going to put it, your chicken nuggets kind of a situation. But is stealth health, which is kind of a stealth health situation, of adding these undetectable fibers to the food supply, we know the upside, obviously, of getting more healthful fibers, but is there a potential downside that people could overdo it because they don't know it's there?
Not really, particularly if you pay attention to which fibers, right? So, at One Bio, we are focused on the anti-inflammatory fibers. The challenge with the fibers, the very few of them, like a handful that are in the industrial food chain today rather than the other thousands that are out there, like inulin is the primary fiber in the industrial food chain today in processed food. It's inflammatory. A very, very low dose of that will give people incredible problems. But if you eat 10 times that of oat beta-glucan fiber, you're not going to experience those side effects. So it depends on what you eat, and we're focused on the anti-inflammatory fibers. But, this is a little bit about in terms of like the too much versus the too little and whatever, it's a little bit of the difference between what's perfect and what's profoundly awesome. And so what we're focused on at One Bio is to work on the profoundly awesome, which is just get a lot more fiber in people's diets and every day in the things they already eat and drink.
So you're saying don't worry about getting the too much when so many people are getting so little.
We're 90% deficient. We just need a lot more fiber.
Okay, and when you think about it, we added iodine to salt, ready? Remember, it's a public health initiative when goiter was an issue. We added obviously fluoride to water for cavities and all that jazz. So I don't know, adding fiber to the food supply might be a great thing. And so Nasheen, I want you to respond to that, but also my question for you, if you don't mind, in our waning moments is self-monitoring. We've got our Apple Watch, we know our steps, we know our heart rate, we know our sleep and all of that. Are people ready to have more self-monitoring?
Yes, wearables will be huge, but before that, let me just do a +1 on what Matt said. Really critical for healthy women to get 21 to 25 grams of fiber, and for healthy men to get 30 to 38 grams of fiber a day. So you can, again, use January AI, track your fiber, see if you're getting that. If you have Crohn's disease or something like that, you cannot
That'd be kind of cool, like your steps.
You cannot
and
have that kind of fiber.
Right?
Yes. So, but for healthy people, that's kind of what is recommended. In terms of, are we ready to do more monitoring? Absolutely. I feel that, wearables are going to be huge. The beauty of wearables is that they're frictionless. You just put it on, and then we have 24/7 data on you. And what can we do on 24/7 data, dense data? We machine learn. So then we can see what's normal for you, what's abnormal for you. Mostly standard of care is based on averages, but as we know, there's huge variability between people in terms of everything from body temperature to blood sugar, et cetera. And even for the same person eating the same thing 9 days in a row, you will have different responses to it depending on how much you've slept, how much stress you've had, et cetera. How much fiber you had in your stomach has so much to do with your blood sugar response. So if you want to modulate your blood sugar response, you want to increase the amount of fiber in your diet. So yes to wearables. There will be more wearables. They will become smarter. They will become health devices. As you know, Apple's been working on a blood sugar thing for 15 years, and we can machine learn on them. So AI will be able to solve for your health.
Ranjan, I want to get you involved here as we're winding down, but a dietitian colleague of mine in Houston was talking about many people using the continuous glucose monitors, and let's say they eat watermelon and they go, oh my gosh, I had a spike, or they eat drink orange juice, oh my gosh, I had a spike. Well, you're not supposed to measure it that way, like individual foods. So back to the self-monitoring and the technologies that we have, guiding people how to interpret, how to use it.
That's a great question. In fact, our bodies, you can take a watermelon and eat it, and then next time you can eat a piece of bread. Typically, we'll eat a meal. And our bodies process the meal as a matrix of food. So you will see a difference. You can eat a piece of bread. You can eat a slice of butter. And when you put the butter on bread, you will see a very different glucose response. And one of the things we recommend to our patients and members is what we call Digby food sequencing. So if you're eating a meal, start with the vegetable and the fibers, then you bring in the protein and the fat, and then you bring in the starch and the glucose. And what that'll do is effectively will keep your sugar control. And the other factor that people sometimes miss, stress is an equal trigger of glucose spike, because it's the body's natural mechanism under stress to produce glucose. And I jokingly sometimes say, sometimes your relatives may be a bigger cause of glucose spike than the chocolate cake.
Absolutely.
So it's really a very powerful tool.
You know, we're about to wind up here, and I just want to give each of our panelists just a few seconds to answer this question. Are you hopeful that more technology and personalized nutrition technology is going to be a great thing for overall optimal health?
100%. I have great faith in AI. I have great faith in some of the new people that are getting involved. If you've been looking at Make America Healthy Again, take a look at some of the challenges that we will have to the food industry for making delicious, cheap, but fiberless foods. They will be challenged, I hope. I hope we have the political will to look at food production, ultra-processed foods, and the fact that they don't have fiber. It's going to be very critical, but great faith in AI and wearables to detect our variations and give us personalized solutions.
That's great. And Matt, just to wind it up, you apparently pretty optimistic about getting more fiber into people's diets worldwide.
I am. I mean, look, 100 years ago, before people knew what vitamins and minerals were and what they did, vitamin and mineral deficiencies were rampant and they were serious. And now they're mostly a non-issue. And now that we have started to understand what fibers are and what they do, and we can put them into just about anything, I have confidence that we'll do the same thing to address modern inflammatory disease and metabolic dysregulation. And
Ranjan will give you the final word.
Oh, I am very excited of where technology has come, the AI, and the fact that now we have 7, 8 health plans covering it. It's really allowing for accessibility, because that's the last frontier we'll have to cross. And with the public societal desire for MAHA, I am super excited where we are. I think personalized nutrition is crossed the chasm. It's been a struggle for a while, but I'm super excited where it is.
And it needs to be for many, many more people than those that can just afford to buy these GLP-1 drugs. And Mike gave us permission to go a minute or two longer, or a minute longer. And so, Najin, I see you grabbing.
I just want to say one thing.
Yes.
If you want to have a very high fiber fruit, raspberries. They really outperform
But we are
any other
developing in
berries.
biotechnology the seedless raspberry right now, which I also learned here.
1 cup of raspberries is 7 grams of fiber. Whenever you're offered berries, raspberries.
Okay, well, thank you for that. That sounds delicious in a cocktail at like here in Las Vegas. So I can't wait to look at my watch and see how much fiber I consumed or didn't consume today. I just don't want it to tell me how many martinis I had last night. That's okay. So thank you to the panel. Thank you to all of you for being here. Go forth and conquer.